Yeah,
Yeah, it's working. I feel
yes.
it work out now.
Let's see.
You don't know what you did. I don't know what you did. It knows what you did.
There we go.
There we
We'll
go.
put
It's
31
good.
seconds. This is
Okay.
my friend Dennis Knowles from Benton Harbor. He's a city councilman there, and we're here. We're going to talk to Dennis today, and there are problems, and these problems directly affect you because Benton Harbor sits on one of three deep well aquifers within the state of Michigan. What does that mean to you? Well, think about this for a second. They're talking about doing this fracking out on the East Coast, and they could destroy all of the East Coast water. And if they do that, water is going to be in short demand, good drinking water. And Benton Harbor, with all these poor black folk, sit on one of the largest gold mines in the country. And the new gold isn't gold, it's water. Good, drinkable water. And Dennis, uh, they want to get rid of him. They have him coming up on misdemeanor charges playing his radio in City Hall. He, in January, in a 2-week period of time, is going to sit. Each Monday, he starts with a meeting with the prosecutor. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, he has court cases against him.
Yes.
And they do that for 2 weeks straight. Now, if you think this has anything to do with politics, you're right. Absolutely. Dennis,
Hey, Pat.
we were talking coming over today about this takeover of water by the Whirlpool Corporation
Yes.
and the Upton family that controls Whirlpool. Tell me about the things you've tried to do in the city council to have Benton Harbor actually use the water, bottle it, and sell it to people at a reasonable price. Because I'm sure if water gets short, Benton Harbor would share it with others. I doubt very much whether the Upton family is going to do that.
It's funny you mentioned the water. I'm grateful that you did mention it. That is the gold. The fact is that when I got into government, it was based on the initiative of lowering the rates of water bills on the residents. Water plant sits in what is called now Harbor Shores, the golf course, which is owned by Whirlpool Corporation. Recalling the fact that we took out, should I say, the city of Benton Harbor in 2008 took out a bond issuance unnecessarily to upgrade the water plant. That was the auspices at $14.5 million for the plant itself and $7.2 million for the sewer system around the plant, totaling out to about $21 million that the residents and at the time other customers that we've lost since then building their own water plants, such as Benton Township, St. Joseph, Charter Township, Sodus, and other areas, Fairplain, who were receiving water from us, putting the bill solely on the residents and small businesses that are in the city of Benton Harbor. The real ordeal there was that the county wanted a joint water authority back in 2008. This was under then the management of Mr. Pete Mitchell, a former city manager. He didn't go with it. The council members then did not go with a joint municipal governing consortium that would then control our water plant. We wouldn't have any control. So what Harbor Shores Whirlpool did, they all convinced by way of saying that our plant was dirty. We could not supply proper, good, non-contaminated water because we had two breaches in 2008. One being a construction disorder where the Harbor Shores was doing their golf course. They breached a line. We had to boil water 2 times. The second being in October of 2008, where a 10 million gallon a day water valve was put into the plant. And I said then, as many of us did on the outside, that valve was to water the golf course. Well, here it is. The golf course was not paying any water payments to the city of Benton Harbor. They were getting free water. And to date, I have to say that they're still getting free water. And the residents that now exist,
How much do the residents of Benton Harbor have to pay for their water?
we're paying now, as of a new law that will be going down in January of this year, it's $2.88. I'm sorry, $1.88 per 100 cubic feet of water. But that's not including now a new skyrocketed price for owning a meter at your house. The standard meter is 5/8 of an inch, and the cost now will be just monthly for the ownership of that or occupying that meter for the resident at $12.88 per month.
Plus the cost of the water.
Cost of the water. And then we have a capital improvement cost that goes with the meter at $3.38 per month. And this is what we have a state manager now, Joseph Harris, who's come in under the behest of the corporation through the state of Michigan, Rick Snyder, who put a capital improvement staple on that, saying that we needed to change our meter reading pads. We need to centralize it, that you can read from a central location instead of having a man or a woman go out to read the meters.
No, hold it a minute. I want to make sure I'm getting all this straight. Whirlpool, with their golf course out there, isn't metered at all. So they can use all the water they want and they don't have to pay a penny.
Exactly.
Yet the residents of Benton Harbor have to pay. They have meters. They have to pay for all the water they use. And now, I don't think people watching this quite realize the situation Benton Harbor is sitting in. Benton Harbor sits on one of 3 deep well aquifers within the state of Michigan. And that means that these 3 deep well aquifers, if all the other water goes bad in our country, even the lakes, the Great Lakes, that's the only good drinking water that's going to be available. And here we've got Whirlpool Corporation standing there getting ready to take over this. And they send in this manager?
At first, yeah, as an emergency financial manager under the auspices to balance the books, but when Public Act 4, the emergency manager law, came into effect March 16th of 2011, this year,
right,
which gave him the ability to shut government down, to take on the auspices of being the mayor, the commission, city manager, finance director, and over police and fire department. So he's running the whole city under the mantra of taking over the city. Mind you, a real important point that we didn't point out here. Industry's gone. There are no jobs.
Now, Fred Upton is running these commercials saying that he's going to bring jobs to Michigan. How many jobs did Upton pull out of Whirlpool from the Benton Harbor area?
We recently, just last 6 months ago, we lost over 200 workers. The plant was shut down, the final shutdown this past summer.
And in the last couple of years, how many plants did they have and how many employees?
We lost over 1,000 employees total. That's just in Michigan alone. Also, they bought out Maytag. We won't veer too far from Benton Harbor, but this was in Ohio. They bought out Maytag, and 145 plant workers lost their jobs. So these plants that are being taken over by a Whirlpool are diminishing in terms of staff or employees working in the assembly lines. And the reason being, because Whirlpool, as you know and I know, is a global corporation.
Right.
Cheap labor, slave labor, don't have to deal with unions. don't have to deal with squawking or complaining about cost of living increases. They can go anywhere in the world.
And if their employees don't have enough to live on, fine, they can die, and there are plenty of others to take their place.
Just die.
Just die.
And it's the same thing now with Benton Harbor, because I failed to mention that everybody, 70% of the population of Benton Harbor is on a fixed income. And with the downturn of the economy and the loss of any jobs or many jobs, we're about to lose 20 teachers now, because the state's also going into our school system to say that, that we have major financial woes there. So they can come in now and take the school. The state can. Privatization is occurring.
And what this privatization means is they will come and they will shut down the public schools and put up these private schools run by their cronies.
Mm-hmm.
And it doesn't matter whether they teach anyone anything. They're just going to suck these education funds out of this, and they're just going to come back and say, well, those folk are just uneducatable.
Mm-hmm.
We can't educate them.
And definitely, I've said, for the most part, I remember us being a government official, being said that stated that we were inept. We couldn't run or manage the finances of the city, to the note of any revolt or rebellion or rebuttal from this. And he's a very pompous emergency manager. He's black like me,
right?
But he has a corporate heart. And when you talk about reverse racism, he's the epitome of that himself. And I'm speaking of Joseph L. Harris, who also went into Detroit, and under Mayor Bing had done some diminishing there of another black population, Detroit, Michigan, who now also has an emergency manager. And so we're looking at the areas where water, let's get back to the water, lie, and I have been an opponent to the stressors that I see that now businesses are incurring, small businesses, not the major ones. They get tax breaks, they get incentives that would keep them on. And these are all businesses that would go under the umbrella of Whirlpool. In other words, the boss, the bully, Whirlpool, controls everything in the city of Benton Harbor. Privatization is telling the residents at this time, well, you have two things you can face. You can either leave town or you can go to the county jail. That's what's going on in Benton Harbor. The bottom line is that, yes, we were painted as inept, no matter what plans we would put together. For an example, you and I both know, and the world knows, I've been in municipalities across the country where if there was a loss of customer base, there would be an offset of that loss by promoting and doing and producing a municipal water bottling plant.
Well, that's what you were telling me, that you presented this in city council to have Benton Harbor actually set up their own bottling plant and sell water. That would have balanced the books immediately.
Exactly.
And that would have had just an initial investment of $200,000 in it, but that $200,000 could have been recaptured in a very short period of time, and the city, I'm sure, would have been far fairer in selling water to people that need it, both on the East Coast and elsewhere, than the Upton family planned to be. I'm sure the Upton family is going to look at this and say, okay, if they destroy the water on the East Coast using this fracking, these people are in dire shape. They're going to be looking toward Michigan for their water. And a lot of the water's being sucked out of here now. Up in Fremont, Nestle is pumping out something like 5 gallons a second.
Jesus.
And that goes in. Our legislature has approved this. And so the people here in our state are going to lose one of their great treasures. And these few families like the Uptons are going to control. Just like Upton sits on this energy committee in Congress. Well, I've had this question out to him for quite a while. Does the Upton Limited Family Partnership have any control over the tar sands in Canada and the United States? and he refuses to answer that question. He wants this oil pipeline to come down because I think he stands to make a lot of money on that. Two things he's doing. He's trying to capture the water, and he's trying to capture the oil market with these tar sands. And they two major monopolies that this country can't afford. The tar sands are one of the most toxic systems for global warming that they've found yet, because it releases huge amounts of methane gases into the atmosphere.
Okay.
And Mr. Upton, Fred Upton, is involved right up to his neck in this stuff.
When I learned of Upton's chairmanship of that committee, I was astounded in that the same group, we'll talk about them at this time, the legislators, the ones that pass these laws that really affect the major population. When I discovered that he was over that committee, you're quite correct when you talk about the tar sands and you talk about our water, and you mentioned something that is so emphatic that Benton Harbor is one of 3 deep wells in the state of Michigan, an aquifer that we sit on, which is fresh water. And who best to control for Pepsi, for any other entity that would want water industry or corporate industry, than a Whirlpool, who they would have to go to, not to the people who belong there, not to the people who should be enriching and heightened. You only stop education when you take the funds away. You only stop growth when you don't have an economic engine. And what better way to say that we're inept than to take away or be given through legislation? And I'll have to say that locally we had done that. I'll say not me, but I have colleagues who have given things. I've seen them give away to the corporation, and the people got nothing out of the ordeal. No jobs. Right now, there's a Whirlpool campus. The northern headquarters is being built right by the bridge between St. Joseph, Michigan, and Benton Harbor, Michigan, on Main Street. And I'm seeing, and we were told there would be no jobs for the residents. Why give away something that you have for nothing to benefit the people who are fixed incomes? Will be gentrified and genocided because the corporation, along with the county and Lakeland Hospital, are orchestrating not only the movement of a people, as they did with the Indians, when they moved them from one reservation to another, put them in the mountains where you couldn't grow any crops. And I know that we at one time talked about the Bilderbergs. You can look at the thing that's going on today. The Bilderbergs were to lessen the population of the globe by 1/3
Right.
of people. So we're not of any consequence. You don't need human labor anymore. So we were slaves, and we're needed in the cotton fields. We were slaves, and even poor white people needed, in fact, the children, child labor. We can go on with the histories. The same thing today that is going on is some of the same semblance when they used and abused people. Now we're not needed. So genocide is in order. Gentrification is in order. They want to turn Benton Harbor to a resort town for the very rich and elite, but then at the expense of the people.
That's right. Well, thank you. Thank you. I think we've come to an end here, and I appreciate your comments. Goodbye.
Thank you.
We're at